Hello everyone, I'm Alima and I'm going to be your RJ for the show today. Today I'm here with Aves and Musna from the Office of Academic Advising and Student Success. And we're going to be talking about their website and all the resources available. Now, both of our lovely guests today are research assistants, and they're going to be helping you out on your LUMS journey, especially if you're a freshman, on how you can sort of settle into the community and find resources that can help you with academic success. So let's get started. First, I'd just like you guys to give us a little overview on what the website is and what one can expect from the website.
Advising website is a repository of resources that we've created, and this includes multiple types of resources. So you can find event updates on the website, and then you can find handouts such as self-help handouts, which talk about things like academic support and campus well-being. So you'll find handouts on things like class participation, time management, also on a guide to Lahore, a guide to hostel life on campus. And then you can find some more handouts which help you with future pathways, which is a career or a graduate studies field that you're interested in. And then handouts have been created for different fields, and you can find information on how you can prepare for that field and what sort of experiences you can have during your undergrad that can help you pursue that field.
And if you're a first-year student especially, and you're unsure about what major to choose, try to go to the major exploration handout section. It's really, really detailed. It's about almost every single major that is available in LUMS. And there is a solid amount of research and interviews and a lot of interesting information about what you should have in mind when you are sort of looking for what major to do.
So that's really packed, and that's a lot of information, which might get overwhelming for some freshmen. So let's just put ourselves in their shoes and imagine it's our first time on the website and you have 5 minutes between classes to look at it. How would you navigate through that website?
Well, I would say if you're a first-year student, right? So in your mind, you have a major that you want to do, a major that you've maybe applied to, and you're like, let me just look at what this major entails, what the career prospects in this major are, what the research prospects in this major are, what kind of course load I'm going to be taking on. I mean, all of those things, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, let's say you're not from Lahore, so you're coming to Lahore and you're a hostelite in LUMS from a different part of the country or outside the country. And you're like, I don't know what the culture here is, I don't know what the slang is like, what's good places to be here and stuff. Yeah. So you go to, navigating or exploring Lahore, or you go to self-exploration. These are all handouts that are available at the website. So either you're struggling with something socially within LUMS, or if you're struggling with something academically in LUMS, that sort of changes the direction that you would take if you have 5 minutes. But there's so much there.
I think there's another thing that first years can look at, which is the main page of the website, where you can find event deadlines and upcoming deadlines. So drop only ki deadline hoti hai and stuff like this. And then you can also find frequently asked questions. And this includes things like the enrollment process. This includes things like how your advising units can help you. And that you just click on the question like a pressing question that you have, and you find a very quick answer for that. I think that's something that could be really useful for first year.
All right, that's very interesting, especially for myself because I'm also a freshman. So you guys talked about how there's handouts that can help you out. So what is the process? How do you guys develop these handouts?
Well, we can divide the process in 3 specific parts if you want.
Yeah.
The first part is identifying any kind of gaps in the knowledge base that LUMS has already. So let's say recently there's a new major that came out in HSS, which is the CLCA major.
Yeah.
So there was a clear gap that there was no handout to explore the CLCA major. So that's something that we're working on recently. We're interviewing alumni, whatever there are of them. Then we're interviewing the faculty. Then we're interviewing head of departments and everything like that. So that's the first process. Then we do research. Then we sort of corroborate that research. And then once that handout is published, then after 2 years, 3 years, we go back to that handout and see, what's changed, what's new. So that's a general outline.
Yeah. And when we're updating the handouts, we go back to the people that we interviewed, and this includes primarily faculty and head of departments and alumni. and we see if there's been some sort of change in that field. If any information that we provided is now outdated, we replace that. And I think it's also really useful to have faculty on board, because faculty को सबसे best पता होता है about what a major is entailing or what a certain field is like right now. So they give really interesting and useful insights, which are then incorporated into those handouts.
Yeah, so I think it's really cool how you guys are talking about majors that are new. For me, in my first semester of my freshman year, I changed my major like every week, and now I've finally settled. But for other students like myself who are really confused, how do you think they should take advantage of the advising website?
I think the major exploration handouts are really detailed. So not only do you find out what a major is, you also find out what sort of courses there are in that major, what similar majors exist. So if you decide not to take a certain major, what other options do you have? And then it also includes a section about career pathways that alumni have taken. Because a lot of students, they don't have a major in mind, they have a field in mind, कि हाँ मैंने after graduating ये करना है. So that is something that really helps them, because, okay, someone who has pursued this major or done this major at LUMS, this is something that they're working on right now. And this information comes from CSO, the Career Services Office, और वो उसको भी update करते रहते हैं. So we know कि people who have done, for example, a law major, वो आजकल कौन सी law firms में काम कर रहे हैं, या not all of them are working in law firms. So what other options do they have? So that really helps someone make a decision about the major that they want, especially when they're about to declare the major, because they're like, अच्छा ठीक है, this is what my major entails. Is this what I'm up for? And then
on the website, there's something really interesting. It says that you guys get information from stakeholders themselves to make these documents and resources, which is very important because you need the people who are facing an issue to understand really and get into their heads what they need help with. So, how do you get this information?
Well, there are a few different ways of doing that. So, I mean, let's go by stakeholder, I guess. Let's start with students. We try to have a pulse on what the student population is feeling like. So we have our student experience survey, which gives us, information every year on what the student, experience is happening, what they're struggling with, what's good and what's not. Then there is professors, faculty, which are very important because that's the other part of the direct, communication that students are having with faculty. So we try to have interviews with them. We try to sort of meet up and sort of have conversations about whatever major we're doing. Then, let's say the handout is on well-being. So we'll try to go to CAPS. We'll try to go to, different relevant departments within LUMS which are managing that kind of situation.
Yeah. Like OAI, there's a handout on harassment, what it entails, what is the procedure in LUMS for dealing with something like that. So that has been made with the Office of Accessibility and Inclusion, which looks at this. Other than that, just to add to the students part, when we interview faculty and head of departments, हम उनसे पूछ लेते हैं, like, especially for like major exploration handouts, I think a student who has spent maybe 2-3 years in that major, I think the kind of insights they can give, वो शायद faculty भी नहीं दे सकते, वो शायद कोई alumni भी नहीं दे सकता. So we ask them, oh, is there someone you think we should talk to? And then they recommend a student to us and we have an interview with them. A couple of times students have just written like really detailed feedback and given that to us. And we've sent them questions like, what are some skills that you think someone in your major needs to develop? What are some courses that you would really, really recommend to people जो ये major ले रहे हैं? And even for like graduate studies, for people, for example, there's a graduate studies handout for anthropology. So someone who has done their undergrad from LUMS and then they've pursued a master's in anthropology, what are some courses that they would recommend कि एक current undergrad student ले, so they are better prepared for a master's in anthropology, for example. Mm-hmm. So we interview them, we email them. Sometimes there's a lot of back and forth on the emails. They give really detailed feedback. What we try to do is we try to have a very lengthy conversation ताकि हमें बहुत सारी insights ऐसी मिलें जो हमें वैसे maybe research के through नहीं मिल रही, because these are people who are currently experiencing that. There's people who are currently doing that master's or doing that major or in that career field right now. So they know okay, what are some changes that the field is going through, what are some things that they would maybe recommend to their undergrad self. Okay, if they could go back in time, this is something they would have done. And then we add that advice in the handouts. So this is how we involve all stakeholders that we feel can give really good insights.
Wow,
One
that's
thing-
a lot of detail. That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'll add to this though, which something that I really found interesting, as someone who was a senior last year and who also had to apply to jobs and everything, and there were so many times when I was applying to an industry and I had no idea like what are specific terms, jargon that the industry uses.
Yeah.
So another benefit of being in LUMS is that your alumni go out to all kinds of industries. So we really try to use that to our advantage. So, let's take telecommunication as an industry, right? I'm sure so we have a list of alumni from LUMS who went into telecommunication industry. So these are like manager positions at Jazz, let's say, or manager positions at Telenor. So they know what's going on in the industry. And we try to go to them and we try to talk to them about what's new. What skills are they looking for from students? To try to make sure that a student who's reading, let's say, who wants to go into telecommunication, he or she reads the handout for telecommunication. They understand, these are things that I want to focus on. These are skills that I want to look at. These are words maybe that I want to use in an interview with them, or these are the ways I want to present myself to the interviewer. So I think that's really, really important because that's an insight that you really can't know unless you go into the industry. And that's something that we're trying to put into these handouts, which are then going to students. So, I definitely would have benefited a lot more from sort of going through the major exploration, career exploration. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I think another thing that really stood out to me was that so a lot of these handouts were developed before we started working on refreshing them because we are currently working on updating them. And something that I found really interesting was that there's a misconception that you need to do a certain major to get into a certain field. And that's not always true. So when you look at the career paths that people have taken after a certain major, or if you look at, you talk to certain alumni and you ask them, what was your major at LUMS? Did you do a minor at LUMS? What did you do after LUMS? There are so many options that students have and they don't know कि हम ये major करें. There's so much that we can do. And that is something that is an insight that you can get from the handouts. That's an insight that I also got from the handouts. And I think that's really interesting. And I think that is really encouraging also for current students that just because you're in a certain field doesn't mean that there are limited options for you. The sky is the limit.
I actually relate to that so much because myself, when I looked at the biology major handout, one of the alumni had done a master's in journalism after that, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And it was so cool to see that someone else did the exact same thing. And it makes you feel so much safer and you're in good hands, sort of. You guys talked earlier about how there's a survey that goes out to students.
Yes.
Where is the survey available? Where can our viewers find it?
Coming to your email addresses soon. We're working on it. So I don't think there's a lot of detail that's added. It's just
So the survey goes live at the end of the academic year. It was launched a couple of years ago. It's going to go live at the end of this semester as well. And the survey includes a lot of questions about, there's some general questions about your overall experience at LUMS, about your experience with your major. Then there's questions about your faculty advisors, other advising systems at LUMS, who's your staff advisors, how often you're meeting them, how responsive or helpful you find them. And then there's questions about campus well-being and how safe do you feel on campus. There's also questions about, and not all questions went to all students last year. The structure will be a little different this year. And then there's questions about campus facilities. Are you aware that something like, for example, CAPS exists, or the medical center exists, or OAI exists? And that just gives us insights that are then shared with university leadership and shared with advising units and school deans. And then we get an insight into what an average student at LUMS is experiencing.
Yeah, that's so cool. That covers literally every aspect of your LUMS career. So about the survey, what do you feel is one of the major issues that students are facing that you guys are working on right now?
Firstly, there's a lot of questions about new majors coming in. So I talked about CLCA. And psychology, if I'm not wrong.
Psychology is a new major.
That's also something that we're going to start working on. So that interest as well, is gauged from the service. That's one thing that I can point out.
We also look at faculty advisors, key ratings, and we see when we're pairing students with, so every student is paired with a faculty advisor and a staff advisor and a PAL. There's this whole support system that they have access to. So when we're doing those pairings, the school advising units, they can see कि अच्छा ये वाला instructor is really, really responsive. So maybe a student that's on probation or a student that's otherwise vulnerable because of any reason, उनको फिर हम इस तरह के faculty member के साथ pair कर दें. So that is something that the advising offices have worked on.
So the efficiency we try to improve by getting like more input from the students about the process entirely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that actually myself, because I didn't know that so much thought went into who gets to be your faculty advisor. And I relate a lot to my advisor, and I thought that was just by chance, but it's really cool to see
we're
that
glad.
you put effort into that. That's very, very cool. You were talking right now about all the new majors coming up, which is very exciting. But we're in a very fast-paced world right now, and there's constantly new jobs being created, especially with like the advent of AI and technology. And we might feel sometimes that our majors are kind of behind. Like, I'm majoring in biology, and sometimes when I'm at family gatherings, they're like, "Beta, ab to biotechnology ka time hai. Like, why are you doing biology?" So with all these new sort of avenues coming along, how do you think that students should navigate their major choice using the academic advising website?
So I think that this comes down to understanding what skills are needed and what your interests are then. So in major explorations, you can sort of see, as you mentioned, that there's an alumni in the biology handout who went to go into journalism, right? So one, this is a way of getting you closer to the network of LUMS alumni who are now going out and gaining all of these skills and understanding what skills are required. But other than that, like whatever job, whatever career, whatever industry you're interested in, if you go to the handout of that industry, you understand what kind of skills are needed, right? And that's, in my opinion, this is not advice, but in my opinion, that is a little bit more important than what major you're doing. So I think that part specifically, you really should try to focus on as first years who are looking for internships maybe, or as seniors, juniors who are looking for jobs. Try to focus on the skills in the career exploration handouts. And then, I think that's it from my side.
You just talked about internships right now, and like my heart fell a bit because, bro, internships are scary.
You'll be all right. It'll work out.
You'll be all right. That is our official advice.
Because I feel like in high school, it was very clear-cut what you had to do, because you knew, okay, you have to go to a college, and then you'd go on the college website and you'd be like, Acha, they look for people who have done internships like this, extracurriculars like this, grades like this. But when it comes to the job market, there's not really a clear-cut answer to that.
Yeah,
so how do you think that students can use the website to sort of plan out the next 4 years of their college career so that they can have a better chance out in the job field?
Yeah. So one section of these handouts looks at what you can do at LUMS, and this includes things like TA-ships and societies, because societies do help you in skill development. They really, really help you, and it also depends on what your interests are, and then you get to explore those interests. So there's student societies, and then there's TA-ship opportunities, and then there's RA-ship opportunities, and there's a lot of other work/research related things that you can do while you're a student at LUMS. And then there's also internships that you can do in the summer. So the website, the handouts on the website talk about these different experiences that you can have. And one thing that we found in our research and in the handouts that already exist on the website is that there's no hard, like you said, there's no clear rule that this is what you need to do. Also for graduate studies, there's no set rule कि आपने फॉर एग्जांपल मार्केटिंग में आपने अपना मास्टर्स करना है तो आपको इतनी इंटर्नशिप्स करनी है या आपके इतने सालों का वर्क एक्सपीरियंस होना चाहिए. इवन दोज यूनिवर्सिटीज़ और दोज कंपनीज दे डोंट स्पेसिफाई समथिंग लाइक दिस बिकॉज इट्स अबाउट हाउ यू डेवलप योर स्किल्स एंड हाउ यू डेवलप योर इंटरेस्ट्स एंड हाउ यू क्रिएट अ प्रोफाइल फॉर योर सेल्फ. सो students can go through these handouts, and there's recommendations for societies they can join, there's recommendations for the kind of research work they can do. For example, they can do an S-Proj, and that gives really, really good research experience. I did an S-Proj, and I felt like that was a major learning experience for me. So that's something that they can do, and they can look at the handouts, they can look at the advice, they can look at what alumni have said, what alumni have done, and then they can see what works for them. Because there's no set rule that आपने ABC करना है तो फिर आप एक फील्ड में जा सकते हैं. You could do B, C and D and still be a very great candidate for a certain field.
If I'm being a little coy about it, you can know what's required in a industry, but to do that, you might have to interview 7, 8 different industry professionals all on your own somehow. You find them somehow, you make them talk to you, you talk to them, you tell them, hey, these are my aspirations and I want to, go into this specific industry. Let's take, media, for example, because we're in a radio room right now. And then you get to know, okay, so these are specific skills that are required of me because I've interviewed all of these people who are now in the industry. You can do that, or you can read the handout, which has already had all of these interviews done. So I think that's the benefit of it, because there are rules and there are written things that are present, given by the hiring teams. That's there, right? But then there's a few unwritten ideas. There's a few unwritten. How do you have to act in the interviews? How do you have to present yourself in the interviews? What type of words? What type of things are you supposed to be aware of? What skills are you supposed to have? These are things that you only learn from experience, right? And some people are lucky that they have people in their family or in their close circle who are into these industries. But, most people don't have that. So I think these handouts really, really fill that void, in my opinion. So, yeah.
And you can also find handouts on email etiquette. You can find handouts on interviews, how to take interviews, how to be prepared for interviews. You can find handouts on things like time management and balancing your commitments. And I feel like these things, when you start practicing these strategies, you develop certain skills that can really help you during your undergrad experience.
All very important skills, and I'm so glad that we have these resources open to us. So I kind of wanted to talk about how you guys were students not very long ago, and were you able to use these resources, and how have they helped you, especially now that you have a career, you're no longer a student?
Well, I did use the interview tips a lot during my time when I was applying to jobs. Well, the first thing that we have to sort of note here is that I am ancient at this point. I started my time at LUMS in 2020. I was part of the COVID batch. Yeah. And the advising website, to the best of my knowledge, started in 2021. Yeah. So my first year, I didn't have access to it, right? And then I was coming into a place where it wasn't as popular. Most people didn't know about it. So when I learned about it, when I learned about the interview tips, the let's say the resume format, the networking session tips and everything, I used that a lot during my job hunting period. What about you?
Yeah. So I used there's a handout on reading strategies. I use that a lot. And then there's this handout on email etiquette that I've already mentioned. I use it to this day because I feel like communication is a skill that you develop over time and you get better at it. And you can't ever be the best at it because you need to constantly be better at it. And then these handouts have really, really helped me. There's also a handout called Guide to Lahore, and as a Lahori, I still found it really, really insightful and really interesting.
I was going to bring that up right now, that's like the handout I've used the most, actually.
Do you know about the slang section?
Yes!
In the handout, there's a slang section in the handout.
I learned so much slang from that, and it actually really helped me in my O week. Because I didn't realize how burger I was till I read that slang section. I was like, guys, I can fit in. I can be popular now.
There's also a handout on university residential life. And that really helped me because even though I was a Lahori, I stayed on campus for like 3 semesters. And that really helped me move into the hostel and really make the most out of my hostel experience.
Yeah. So just wrapping up, what are some final thoughts you have for our viewers who might be prospective LUM students or freshmen, and how you can sort of help them out with this journey?
So I think I would encourage everyone to go over the website because there's so much on that website. There's so many resources. I would encourage anyone to look at them, see what they want to explore, what they want to read, and then just make the most out of it. Skim through them if you can't read them in detail. There's sections. They're very well structured, so you can see which section you want to go to, and you look at what you are looking for, what sort of advice you want. There's handouts on improving your sleep patterns, taking care of yourself, test anxiety. So you just look at what you want and what you need, and then you explore those handouts. That is what I would recommend.
I would just say that as someone who's been a student myself, there are times when you are stuck in a position and you feel so stuck in a position that you're like, oh, and you also feel like this is such a common knowledge, that thing that I don't know, that I would feel dumb asking people about it.
Yeah.
And then we live our time as a student with those worries intact, throughout our entire time here.
Yeah.
All I have to say is that university does not have to be as hard as we make it, right?
Very
so
true.
so like, if you have this resource, it's free for you, it's available whenever you want, you don't have to ask anyone about it. What's the harm in just giving it a look? Because it genuinely surprised me when I looked at it for the first time. So yeah, that's what I would say. It really, really makes your life a lot easier than, like, you have no idea how easy your life can be. So yeah.
100%. I relate with that so much. Like, asking questions is very scary, and the website really helps you out with that. Especially
Good job being an RJ then.
Man. Okay.
Yeah.
One last question, though.
Okay.
A very, very important part of the website is that you can see the events coming up. And I've been using that so much recently because you cannot keep up with the emails and everything's so organized there. What's your favorite event that's happened at LUMS so far, like in your past 6 years here?
Drum therapy that
Ooh.
CAPS does. They
Okay.
did it with the student council last year. I think they did it this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so much fun. I think that's so much fun. And I would really encourage students to keep an eye on the event section as well.
Very
Because
important.
LUMS is not just for padhai.
Yes.
The campus experience and the campus opportunities that you get, they're amazing. I think that's maybe 60% of your LUMS experience is
Exactly,
meeting
and-
people and talking to people and going to these events. And I think it's great that there's a list of events and there, like, you can look at what's coming up so you can make the most out of it. I know it's really hard with padhai and everything, like we don't always get time for it, but this is an opportunity that should not be missed. Events like this are just so much fun, and I think that's very, very important, that you balance your academic life with your social life, and keeping an eye on events can help you with that.
So true.
I'm simple. I just like when Bayan comes to LUMS.
So true. Yeah, they came recently for the orientation of Musoc. So
Yeah.
fun. So that was our episode. You guys should really check out this website because, like Musna said earlier, it's very important to balance your academics and your extracurriculars, and the website reflects all of that and helps you balance it. So be sure to check out the website. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on this podcast. Thank you so much for watching.